Hello, everyone. I'm super excited to announce that my first book ever is officially out, Abundance or Collapse, The Fork in the Road for AI, Robotics, and Civilization. And today, I'm going to read you the first chapter from the book. If you enjoy the content on this channel, I think you're going to really enjoy the book. This is something I've been thinking about doing I've been wanting to write a book for so long. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to write it about. And then as I really started covering all the stuff that I've been covering and all the content I've been making, and the impact I'm seeing AI make in society on my own workflows, on everything that I do on a daily basis, my FSD V14 car, I'm getting driven around everywhere. I have agents doing a bunch of my stuff for me now where I can just focus on the creative aspect of content creation. And it just really has opened my eyes in how transformational this technology is going to be long term. And I wanted to write a book about what is actually happening for people that perhaps are not as aware as they could be, or they don't have the time to invest in what is actually truly happening. And I also wanted to create a framework for people to think about what the impacts are going to be and what to actually do about it as an individual, for yourself, for your family. I'm a father now. And so I think about all this stuff for my son so much, and my family, for the long-term success of our bloodline, whatever you want to call it. This is so transformational, this technology, and I just felt like it was right in my wheelhouse to write a book. So I have a link for that in the description, in the comment section below. But yeah, I'm just going to get started, and there will be an Audible version at some point as well. And this will be the first chapter. Hopefully I can use what I'm going to say here in that Audible version. So I'm going to go ahead and put my glasses on, which I need to clean. Okay, and clean now. And let's get started. Chapter 1, The Convergence, The Fork in the Road. We're standing at a civilizational fork in the road, and the path we take over the next decade leads to one of two destinations: abundance or collapse. There's no comfortable middle ground. The forces I'm about to describe in this book, AI, robotics, and energy, are powerful enough to deliver either outcome. They can create a world where scarcity fades, where basic needs become trivially cheap to meet, where human potential is amplified beyond anything we've imagined, or they can tear societies apart, concentrate power in ways that make today's inequality look quaint, and leave billions of people economically useless in a system that has no place for them. This book is about which path we take, and more importantly, how you can position yourself to thrive regardless of which way the wind blows, while hopefully pushing us toward the better outcome. I've spent the last decade trying to understand where the world is going, not in some hand-wavy sense, but in the specific first principles way that actually lets you make predictions and act on them. And after analyzing thousands of hours of data, hundreds of companies, and countless technological developments, I've arrived at a conclusion that I think most people haven't really heard or have wrapped their heads around. We are not living through three separate revolutions: AI, robotics, and energy. We're living through one revolution, one interconnected system where each piece amplifies the others in ways that are about to accelerate beyond anything we've seen in human history. Some call it the singularity, others call it the convergence. I think the convergence makes the most sense. It's the force that will determine whether we get abundance or collapse. You'll see why. The three threads that are actually one. Let's start with what most people get wrong. When you read the news or listen to analysts, they talk about AI as one thing, robotics as another. Energy is something completely separate. Maybe they'll mention how data centers need more power, or how robots use machine learning. They treat these as adjacent technologies that occasionally interact. That's a fundamental misunderstanding of what's happening. Think about it from first principles. What is AI actually good for? Training neural networks requires massive amounts of compute. Compute requires massive amounts of energy. The more energy you have, the more compute you can run. The more compute you can run, the smarter your AI gets. The smarter your AI gets, the better it becomes at optimizing energy systems, manufacturing robots, and making everything more efficient. Now add robotics to the equation. Robots are essentially AI that can touch the physical world. But what do robots need to deploy at scale? They need cheap manufacturing. They need reliable power. And they need intelligence to actually do useful things. The same AI that's getting smarter every day is the same AI that's going to make robots capable of increasingly complex tasks. And energy is what makes all of it run. But energy infrastructure, solar panels, batteries, grid systems, is increasingly being optimized by AI and will eventually be installed and maintained by robots. And soon enough, Those AI systems will be in space. And funny story related to this, by the way, 100% true. My book manuscript was completely done and ready for final publish by February 8th, when the massive news broke that SpaceX and xAI are merging. This news broke on February 3rd. The reason why they are merging is because SpaceX and xAI will be combining to send 1 million satellites to space to do AI. They will be powered by the sun 24/7 and beam intelligence back down to Earth. So yeah, this whole thing is happening. Space is filled with infinite energy from the sun. The more energy we have, the more AI and robots we can deploy, the cheaper energy becomes. This is a flywheel, and it's starting to spin. Why I mean every word of this? I think at this point, some readers might be rolling their eyes. Another tech guy saying we're on the verge of something unprecedented. I get it. I've been skeptical of grand claims too, trust me. I've heard enough paradigm shifts to last a lifetime. I've been following Elon Musk for over 14 years. That dude is the master at this. But I think the situation is genuinely different. Let me explain why. When I talk about historical precedent, people usually bring up electricity or the internal combustion engine. Both were transformative technologies. Both reshaped civilization. And I'm going to make a claim that sounds outrageous. What's coming is bigger than both of them combined. And so why is that? Because electricity and internal combustion each solved one problem extremely well. Electricity solved the problem of transmitting power over distance. The internal combustion engine solved the problem of portable, high-density energy storage for transportation. Revolutionary technologies, no question, but neither of them could improve themselves. Neither of them could think. Neither of them could replace human judgment across virtually every domain. AI can. And when you combine AI with robotics, giving intelligence the ability to manipulate the physical world, and abundant energy to power it all, you don't get an incremental improvement over previous revolutions. You get something categorically different. You get a system that can compound on itself in ways that previous technologies couldn't. The steam engine couldn't redesign itself to be more efficient. A robot running AI can. Let me put this another way. Every previous technological revolution required humans to figure out the next improvement. Humans invented the spinning jenny. Then humans invented the power loom. Then humans invented the automated factory. The technology was passive. Humans drove the innovation cycle. What happens when the technology itself can participate in its own improvements? When AI systems can help design better AI systems? When robots can help manufacture better robots? When energy systems optimized by AI become cheaper, enabling more AI, which optimizes energy further? You get a feedback loop that doesn't depend on human innovation speed, and human innovation speed, historically, has been the rate-limiting factor on technological progress. Remove that constraint, and you're in uncharted territory. The flywheel in action. I want to walk through how this actually plays out in practice. Let me make it tangible. The flywheel is a self-enforcing cycle where each component accelerates the others. Think of it as a loop where A strengthens B, B strengthens C, and C comes back around to strengthen A even more. Each revolution of the wheel is faster than the last. Start with AI. Right now, in early 2026, we have AI systems that can write code, analyze data, generate images and video, and carry on remarkably sophisticated conversations. These systems are trained on massive datasets using enormous amounts of compute. Each generation gets smarter than the last. We're seeing improvements measured in months, not decades. What do those AI systems need to keep improving? They need more compute, more data, more efficient training models, and critically, they need more energy. The data centers powering AI development are already straining electrical grids. Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they're all scrambling to secure energy sources for their AI operations. This is why SpaceX and xAI are going to space, to bypass the limits that exist by being on the surface of Earth. Resources, regulations, NIMBYism. Now, the convergence stops being abstract when AI is becoming a producer of energy solutions, not just a consumer of them. AI systems are optimizing grid management. They're improving battery chemistry research. They're making solar installations more efficient. Every improvement in energy availability enables more AI development, which enables more energy improvements. I track these developments obsessively. Like every single day, I'm reading papers and watching announcements. And in the last year alone, we've seen AI systems discover new battery materials that human researchers hadn't considered. We've seen machine learning applied to grid load balancing that has reduced waste significantly. Tesla's Megapack as the perfect example. We've seen AI-designed solar cell configurations that improved efficiency beyond what manual optimization could achieve. And we're just getting started. Now bring in robotics. Tesla's Optimus program, and I'll get into this in detail in a later chapter, is applying the same neural network approach they use for full self-driving to humanoid robots. The AI that learns to navigate roads is fundamentally similar to the AI that learns to fold laundry or assemble car parts. Intelligence scales, capability scales. And what do robots do? They manufacture things, they install things, they maintain things. They do physical labor at a cost and consistency that humans can't match. Robots will manufacture solar panels. Robots will install batteries. Robots will build the data centers that train more AI. Robots will build more robots. Each element of the convergence powers the others. AI makes robots smarter. Smarter robots deploy energy infrastructure faster and cheaper. More energy powers more AI development. Better AI improves robots further. And the cycle accelerates. And this is already happening. Even if we're just getting started, the only question is how fast the flywheel spins. The first principles framework. I want to pause here and talk about how I think about all of this, because the framework matters as much as the conclusions. First principles thinking is something I come back to constantly, thanks to my time at Tesla from 2017 through 2021. The idea is simple. Instead of reasoning by analogy, this thing is like the other thing, so it will probably behave similarly, you break problems down to their fundamental truths and build up from there. Why does this matter for understanding the convergence? Because most analysis I see is purely analogical. People look at previous technology cycles and assume this one will follow the same pattern. The internet boom had a bust, so AI will have a bust. Previous automation scared people, but jobs came back. So jobs will come back this time. These arguments aren't necessarily wrong, but they're incomplete. They assume the underlying dynamics are the same, and I think that's a mistake. When you apply first principles to the convergence, you ask questions like, what is the fundamental constraint on AI development? Compute, which requires energy. What is the fundamental constraint on robotics deployment? Manufacturing scale and intelligence, both of which AI helps address. What is the fundamental constraint on energy abundance? Cost and installation, both of which robotics addresses. When you trace these constraints back to their roots, you see how deeply interconnected they are. And you see why solving any one of them has cascading effects on the others. And this is why I'm not just bullish on AI or just bullish on robotics or just bullish on energy. I'm bullish on the system. Because the system has properties that the individual components don't have on their own. A feedback loop that improves itself is fundamentally different from a technology that requires external innovation to advance. The timeline most people underestimate. One thing that consistently surprises me in conversations about AI and robotics is how much people underestimate the timeline. They think in terms of decades when they should be thinking in terms of years. Part of this is just human psychology. We tend to extrapolate linearly when we should be extrapolating exponentially. If AI improved X amount last year, we expect it to improve X amount next year. But that's not how computing works. Part of it is also that most people aren't tracking the details. They hear about ChatGPT or Tesla's latest update and think, okay, cool, incremental progress. They don't see the underlying capability curves. They don't see how each breakthrough enables the next one. I've been following Tesla specifically since 2012, so we're talking about 14 years now. I remember when people said electric cars would never be practical. Then they said Tesla would never achieve mass production. Then they said full self-driving would never work. At each stage, the impossible thing happened faster than critics expected. The same pattern is playing out now across the entire convergence stack. Every month brings developments that would have seemed like science fiction 5 years ago, and the pace is accelerating, not slowing. The way I see it, we're already in the early stages of the convergence. The timeline is now, today. We're living through it, even if most people won't realize it until 2030. The flywheel is already spinning. The question isn't whether it will spin faster. That's essentially guaranteed given our current trajectories. The question is how fast and what the implications are. My rough timeline. By the end of 2027, we'll have AI systems capable of performing 80% of digital tasks at or above the level of top 20% human capability. Robots will be moving from factory floors to broader deployment. Slowly at first, then as intelligence grows, so will they. Energy infrastructure will be scaling in ways that seem almost impossible today, especially in space. By 2030, the world will look dramatically different than it does now. Not subtly different, dramatically different. The convergence will have reshaped entire industries, eliminated entire categories of work, and created opportunities that don't exist today. And I know how that sounds. I know it sounds like hype, but I've been making specific predictions about Tesla for over a decade now, and the pattern is consistent. What seems impossible becomes inevitable, faster than most people expect, but slower than I thought. Now, that's happening everywhere, all at once. Now, before I get into specific companies, I want to make something clear. The convergence thesis does not require any single company to win. This is bigger than Tesla or Musk Industry or Nvidia or Google or whoever. It's bigger than any individual player. You will see Tesla being referenced a lot in this book and Musk Industry in general. I want you to think of these references as the best examples that can be tracked in the real world. They are the vessel you can track daily to get an accurate sense of what's happening. Tesla is a proxy. Musk Industry is a proxy. It just happens to be the best, testable, visible proxy that we can all focus on. There will be many, many more in the future. Musk Industry just happens to be the best example right now. But multiple other companies are building pieces of this flywheel as we speak. Understanding them helps you see the pattern and also protects you from putting all your eggs in one basket. Nvidia is the picks and shovels play. They supply the compute infrastructure to everyone building AI. Whether Tesla wins or OpenAI wins or Google wins or some company we have not heard of yet wins, Nvidia sells the shovels to all of them. Their data center revenue has grown from almost nothing to their dominant segment in just a few years. Every AI breakthrough requires their hardware. That is a powerful position. Amazon has its own convergence happening. The Kiva systems that move packages around warehouses, the Sparrow robots that pick individual items, is automating logistics at massive scale. AWS provides AI compute to millions of startups worldwide. Their fulfillment network is the physical infrastructure that connects digital commerce to real-world delivery. 3 threads combining into something more powerful than any individual piece. BYD deserves acknowledgement here. Their vertical integration is impressive. They make their own batteries, their own chips, their own motors. The Chinese manufacturing ecosystem they operate in is genuinely formidable. I have concerns about their autonomy capabilities and their ability to scale outside protected markets, which I will get into later, but in terms of building convergence assets, they are not standing still. Figure AI, Boston Dynamics, Sanctuary AI, the human and robotics space is getting crowded. Figure has BMW and Microsoft partnerships. Boston Dynamics has decades of research and some of the most capable hardware in the world. Sanctuary AI is taking a different approach with their dexterous manipulation focus. Tesla's Optimus is not the only game in town. The point is this: even if Tesla or any other player stumbles, the convergence still happens, perhaps slower. Other companies are building AI capabilities. Other companies are deploying robots. Other companies are scaling energy infrastructure. The flywheel spins regardless of which specific entities are pushing it. And this matters for how you think about risk. If you believe in the convergence thesis but are nervous about any single company's execution, you can still position yourself accordingly. Nvidia benefits no matter who wins the AI race. Energy infrastructure companies benefit regardless of which robots deploy it. The thesis is robust to individual company outcomes. That said, I do think Tesla has a unique position. Let me explain why. What makes Tesla and Musk Industry central to this story? I should address something directly here, because I know my focus on Tesla invites skepticism. Of course, the Tesla investor thinks Tesla is central to everything. Of course. Fair enough. Let's be honest about my position. I've been invested in Tesla since 2012. It's the vast majority of my portfolio. I worked there from 2017 to 2021. I view Elon Musk as a singular person in the arc of history, especially as it relates to technology. I've built my career around analyzing this company and explaining it to others. So yes, I have skin in the game. But having skin in the game doesn't mean I'm wrong. In fact, I'd argue it means I've thought about this more carefully than someone with no exposure. When your financial future depends on being right, you tend to scrutinize your assumptions pretty rigorously. Let me explain why I think Tesla's position is genuinely unique, with an attempt to separate from any bias I might have, because understanding Tesla is understanding the convergence. And if you understand the convergence, you will be in the best shape possible to navigate the extremely rocky waters we're all about to face. Tesla is the only company in the world that is vertically integrated across all three elements of the convergence. Tesla's FSD full self-driving neural network is arguably the most advanced real-world AI application in deployment. They have millions of cars collecting data constantly, training their AI on edge cases that competitors will never encounter at the same scale. And it's a deployed system getting smarter every day. Millions of cars on real roads learning constantly. Robotics. Optimus represents the application of Tesla's AI expertise to humanoid robotics. Same neural network approach, same end-to-end learning system applied to a form factor that can operate in human environments. And critically, Tesla knows how to manufacture at scale. They're not making 10 robots in a lab. They're building the factories to make millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions. Energy. Tesla Energy is already one of the largest battery storage and solar providers in the world. They manufacture batteries at scale. They deploy grid-scale storage systems. They understand power systems from first principles. Megapack deployments are growing exponentially. And then on the other side of Musk industry, we have the merging of SpaceX and XAI, which is the perfect marriage, as we covered previously, to send AI satellites to space to be powered by infinite and free energy from the sun for billions of years. And given the rumors swirling around as of today, February 3rd, 2026, the likelihood of Tesla and SpaceX coming together as one entity to complete the convergence appears inevitable. Tesla makes the batteries and solar panels for the SpaceX satellite that will carry and power xAI's compute cluster to power xAI and Tesla's AI for cars, robots, LLMs, agents, and whatever else they can come up with. Watch for drones in this space. It's inevitable. No other company has this combination. No other industry has this combination. Google has strong AI, but no robotics or energy manufacturing. Legacy automakers have manufacturing, but no AI and limited energy exposure. Traditional energy companies have, well, mostly legacy assets they're trying to protect. Tesla's vertical integration means they can optimize across the entire convergence stack. AI improvements flow directly into robotics improvements. Manufacturing improvements in one area transfer to others. Energy insights inform everything. Battery innovations developed for vehicles improve grid storage. Neural network architectures from FSD accelerate Optimus development. Solar and storage expertise informs data center power strategies. Is this a guarantee of success? No. Execution matters. Competition matters. 1,000 things could go wrong. But in terms of structural positioning for the convergence, I don't see anyone else with the same setup. The Musk ecosystem, brain, vessel, body. And honestly, I've come to realize something after writing most of this book. Framing this as a Tesla story is actually underselling what's happening. The real convergence isn't happening at Tesla alone. It's happening across an ecosystem of companies that not only Elon Musk controls, but will be copied over and over again as time goes on. Think of it this way. xAI is the brain. This is the intelligence layer, Elon Musk's OpenAI competitor. Grok looks like another chatbot competing with ChatGPT, but that misses the point. Grok is the AI that will eventually run the entire ecosystem, trained on real-time X data that no competitor can access, trained on Tesla's billions of miles of driving data, eventually trained on Optimus Robotics data as those robots deploy. xAI is building the brain for a physical system that spans the planet and beyond. That's a different game than what OpenAI or Anthropic are playing. SpaceX is the vessel. This is the infrastructure layer. Starship gets framed as a Mars rocket, but the near-term implications are even bigger, making access to space so cheap that entirely new possibilities open up. Space-based solar that beams power to Earth. AI data centers in orbit where cooling is free and solar is 24/7. Starlink as the nervous system connecting everything globally. SpaceX is building the infrastructure to take the entire operation off planet. Tesla is the body. This is the physical manifestation layer. The cars that collect data, the robots that will do physical work, the batteries that store energy, the solar panels that capture it, the factories that manufacture all of it. Tesla is where the AI meets the physical world. When you see these as separate companies, you miss the architecture. When you see them as one integrated system, the picture changes entirely. The convergence becomes obvious and repeatable. Consider the feedback loops. Tesla vehicles generate driving data, xAI trains on it, FSD gets smarter, vehicles generate better data. Optimus robots deploy, generate robotics data, xAI learns physical world manipulation, robots get smarter. xAI needs more compute, SpaceX puts data centers in orbit, unlimited solar power, xAI scales infinitely. Energy abundance enables more robots build more energy infrastructure, costs collapse. No other organization on Earth has this architecture. Google has AI but no physical infrastructure. OpenAI has models but no data generating platform at scale. Legacy automakers have manufacturing but no AI. Aerospace companies have rockets but no AI or energy play. The Musk ecosystem has all of it, and critically, it's controlled by one person who can coordinate across all of them. When xAI needs driving data, Elon can make it happen. When SpaceX needs AI optimization, Elon can prioritize it. When Tesla needs rocket technology for manufacturing breakthroughs, it's one phone call away. It's something genuinely new, and it's positioned to capture the convergence in a way that will be impossible for any single company, no matter how well run. Now, I want to be very clear about something. I could be wrong about this. Maybe the organizational complexity becomes a liability. Maybe Elon's attention really is too split. Maybe the synergies I see are partially wishful thinking. But if I'm right, if the ecosystem thesis plays out, then the individual company valuations we're looking at today are dramatically mispriced. Tesla isn't just an automaker. It's the body of a system that includes the most advanced AI, the most capable space infrastructure, and the manufacturing base to build all of it at scale. That's the bet I'm making, not on Tesla alone, on the ecosystem. And that bet will prove out the thesis for the convergence, which will dramatically change the world in ways none of us have imagined. The Wright's Law advantage. I want to introduce a concept here that's going to be important throughout this book, Wright's Law. Wright's Law states that for every cumulative doubling of units produced, costs fall by a consistent percentage. It was originally observed in aircraft manufacturing, but it applies broadly to manufactured goods. And it applies especially well to the three elements of the convergence. Battery costs have been following Wright's Law almost perfectly. For every doubling of cumulative battery production, costs have fallen by roughly 18%. Solar panels show a similar pattern. Even compute costs follow a version of this relationship. Why does this matter for the convergence? Because as each element scales, it gets cheaper. As it gets cheaper, it becomes more economical to deploy. More deployment means more production. More production means lower costs. The flywheel accelerates not just in capability, but in economics. Most analysis gets the timeline wrong for exactly this reason. People look at current costs and current capabilities and project forward assuming gradual improvements. But Wright's Law suggests that improvement accelerates as scale increases. Tesla understood this early. They bet that if they could achieve manufacturing scale, costs would fall dramatically. They were right about that with vehicles, and they're applying the same logic to batteries, robots, and everything else they build. When you combine exponentially improving AI capabilities with Wright's Law cost reductions in the physical infrastructure, you get curves that look almost vertical over a decade timescale. This is why I think 2030 is going to look so dramatically different from today. And most mainstream analysis misses how these curves interact. AI improvements accelerate the learning in manufacturing. Better manufacturing enables more AI deployment. More deployment drives costs down faster. Each curve makes the other curves steeper. The companies that understand this, that are positioned to ride multiple rights law curves simultaneously, are going to see advantages that compound in ways their competitors can't match. They operate on a fundamentally different trajectory, and that gap widens every year. The forcing function for abundance. Now the stakes, abundance. It's easy to get lost in the technical details and miss the bigger picture, but the bigger picture is the literal outcome. The convergence isn't just about which companies win or which technologies succeed. It's about what kind of future humanity gets to live in. If we navigate this correctly, if the flywheel spins the right way, we're looking at a world of genuine abundance. Robotic labor at a fraction of human cost. Energy so cheap it's essentially free for most applications. AI systems that amplify human creativity and capability in every domain. All the fundamental constraints that have shaped human civilization, the scarcity of labor, the scarcity of energy, the scarcity of intelligence, start to relax. Not disappear entirely, but relax in ways that open up possibilities we can barely imagine. Think about what becomes possible when you can deploy robots to build housing at a fraction of current costs. When desalination powered by cheap solar can provide water to any region that needs it. When AI tutors can provide personalized education to every child on the planet. When healthcare diagnostics that currently require expensive specialists become available to everyone through AI systems. Consider the bottom 20% of the global population, people living in genuine poverty. The convergence could mean clean water, adequate shelter, access to healthcare, and education at a level they've never experienced. Not through charity or redistribution, but through the simple economics of abundant technology making basic needs cheap to deliver. This is the promise of the convergence. Not some sci-fi fantasy, but a logical extension of trends that are already in motion. But the benefits aren't automatic. The convergence will definitely happen. The flywheel is already spinning and there's no stopping it. What's not guaranteed is who benefits and how the transition goes. Which brings me to the hard part, the disruption that's coming. I'm going to spend a lot of this book talking about disruption, and I want to be upfront about something. I'm genuinely worried about what's coming for a lot of people. This is why I wrote this book in the first place. The same technologies that enable abundance also enable displacement. When robots can do physical labor, what happens to the people who currently do that labor? When AI can do cognitive work, what happens to the knowledge workers who built their careers on those skills? The convergence is going to be incredible for some people. Capital owners, builders, risk takers, the curious and adaptable. These people are going to thrive in ways that are almost impossible to comprehend from today's vantage point. It's also going to be devastating for others, people who can't adapt, people who don't see it coming, people who are in the middle of the economic distribution, making good livings doing work that AI and robots are about to do better and cheaper. I'll get into this in depth in later chapters with the barbell effect, the crushed middle, what government needs to do and probably won't. But I want to flag it now because it's essential for understanding the convergence. The technology itself is neither good nor bad. It's a forcing function. It's going to force us to confront questions about economics, about society, about what we owe each other as human beings. Questions we've been able to avoid because scarcity provided its own cruel logic for who gets what. When scarcity fades, we're going to have to make choices we've never had to make before. And this is the very frustrating thing about the current discourse around AI and automation. We're not asking the right questions. We argue about whether AI will take jobs. Of course it will. We argue about whether robots will replace workers. Of course they will. Why pay a human 10 times more to do a worse job? This is incompatible with running a business. That world is dead. The technology wave has already given us the answer. It is no longer up to us to decide if it's happening. It will happen. The question should be about what happens after. How do we structure society when the fundamental relationship between work and survival has changed? How do we distribute the benefits of abundance? How do we help people find meaning when traditional employment isn't the organizing principle of their lives? These are not abstract philosophical questions. They're practical problems we're going to have to solve in the next decade. I don't see nearly enough serious thinking about them. The transition period. Between now and that abundant future is a transition period. And I think this transition is going to be far more chaotic than most people anticipate. We're talking about a fundamental restructuring of how work gets done, how value gets created, and how wealth gets distributed. That doesn't happen smoothly. It happens through disruption, displacement, and upheaval. Industries that have existed for a century are going to disappear in years. Job categories that employ millions of people are going to become obsolete. Business models that seemed unassailable are going to collapse. And it's going to happen fast, not over generations where people can gradually adapt, over years. The convergence flywheel doesn't care about career timelines or mortgage payments or college savings plans. It spins at its own pace. China, by the way, is going to have an easier time with this transition than the West. They already live in a more communal society where individual disruption is absorbed differently. The US and Europe, with our emphasis on individual achievement and career identity, especially in the US, are going to struggle more. That's a whole other chapter, but I wanted to plant the seed here. The next 1 to 5 years are going to be extremely rocky. I don't say that to be alarmist. I say it because I think anyone who doesn't prepare for disruption is going to be blindsided. And being blindsided by a transition this significant could mean losing everything you've built. And this is why I wrote this book. Not to celebrate technology for technology's sake, but to help people understand what's actually happening and position themselves accordingly. I'm too close to it for me to simply ignore it. I have to talk about it and help people understand what's going on here. Whether you're an investor, an entrepreneur, a worker, or just someone trying to figure out where the world is headed, you need to understand the convergence. Because the convergence moves at its own pace. Regulatory approval, public opinion, none of it matters. It's happening. The only question is whether you're going to be on the right side of it. What this book will cover. So that's what the convergence is. AI, robotics, and energy combining into a self-reinforcing system that's about to transform everything. The biggest shift in human capability since the agricultural revolution, happening not over centuries, but over years. In the chapters that follow, I'm going to break this down piece by piece. Part 1 examines the technologies themselves. Full self-driving is proof that AI can replace human labor at scale. Optimus and the $40 trillion labor market. Energy abundance and why the only obstacles are political. Part 2 looks at the disruption. Who wins, who loses, and why the transition is going to be far more chaotic than most people expect. The US-China race. What government must do and probably won't. Part 3 is about opportunity. How to invest in a world undergoing the convergence. The frameworks I use. The mistakes to avoid. How to position yourself regardless of where you're starting from. And the epilogue looks at what's on the other side. The age of abundance that's possible if we navigate the transition without destroying ourselves. I've been thinking about these topics for over a decade. I've made my living analyzing them, investing based on them, and trying to explain them to the hundreds of thousands of people who follow my work. Everything I know, everything I believe, everything I've concluded from years of first principles analysis, it's in these pages. The convergence is coming whether we're ready for it or not. My goal is to help you understand it, prepare for it, and hopefully benefit from it rather than being crushed by it. Let's get started.